Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Ingles with Meta Graphics. I'm an eco-friendly package designer and also co-founder of Wildrouted. Are we going to go around and then you want to go ahead since you're attached to
Yep.
my wagon?
I'm attached to her wagon over here. I'm John Ingles, co-founder of Wildrouted and Smiley Graphic Studio.
Gigous?
Wait, actually,
Yes.
sorry, I'm gonna restart.
Okay.
D was super quiet, so you need to speak up a little bit.
Okay. Hi, I'm Dee Ingles. I'm an eco-friendly package designer with Smiley Graphics here in the Warehouse District and also co-founder of Wildrouted with my husband, John.
And I'm John Ingles, part of Wildrouted and Smiley Graphic Studio. I do web development.
Gigous, I work for OSF, Healthcare Innovation, and helping distillery labs get up and running.
Domenighini. I work for Generate, director of G-Beta Distillery Labs. Happy to be here for some awards and happy to interact with my fellow here. It's fantastic.
Hi, my name is Dorina. I'm an international student. I study at Bradley, health science major and sustainability minor actually. And I am currently a group and personal trainer at Bradley.
Hi, my name is Arnold Chima. I'm a student, international student at Bradley University, majoring in construction management.
Oh, hi.
Just got here.
My name is Esther and I'm a third year student at Bradley University, studying psychology.
I'm Jane Talkington with the Turner School of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Bradley University.
Andrew Ngui, I manage the Nest. Okay, D, what are
Ready to
you?
dig in? Okay. Well, thanks to everybody coming out tonight and showing some love here. We're going to get started. So how sustainable packaging can actually grow your business? Thanks to Distillery Labs for inviting me to put this on. So let's talk about brand and packaging. So a brand isn't a logo, a brand isn't messaging. A brand is actually what people who follow your brand say it is. So when we think about people who are very much into sustainability and climate change and just basically recycling as a base camp, we want to create a brand that attracts those kinds of people so that they show support of your brand by making purchases, subscriptions, which would be repeat purchases. They most likely will recycle or reuse your packaging. And one example would be one of my favorite mints is Altoids, and I reuse their packaging by making little first aid kits for people for Christmas.
Can you bring it up to the camera? Please?
Sure. So consumers really want to connect with the brands that they, yeah, everything can be passed around. So if you think about it, stores like Target, they want to attract this type of behavior, sustainable customers. They'll actually carry products that show that they are sustainable. So looking at this slide, you're going to probably say this better than me. Okabashi is a type of shoe that Target carries. They not only support the product and the product is sustainable, but when you're finished with it, you can mail it back to the company. And that's what we call it for school. So when you think about attracting people who are sustainable to your company like Target, there's a lot of opportunities for people to blog about that. And this is an example of 16 eco-friendly sustainable brands at Target. There's also people on social media that just go to the store and pull out products and really talk about what Target's trying to do. So another way to grow your business with sustainable packaging is sometimes there's this myth that, well, there is this myth that sustainable packaging is more expensive. Sometimes it can be, and sometimes it's not. But regardless of whether you pay more or you pay less for your packaging that's sustainable, it's really popular with a lot of people who want to support sustainable brands. And I know I'm one of those people. I'll pay more for something that's packaged in something that I don't feel bad about exploding in the ocean and getting stuck in a turtle's nose. So most respondents are going to pay more for sustainable packaging. The country with the highest percentage of consumers willing to do that is China. 86% are willing to pay more. For sustainable packaging in the food service industry, the US clocked in at 68%. So what do I mean by packaging? So what your product lives in and the way it ships out and how it helps to market your product, that's your packaging. And ultimately, if you think about Apple, this is from their site, the most eco-conscious way to package a product is not having a packaging at all. I mean, when I say packaging, like this deodorant obviously has to have packaging, but there are products that don't really need packaging at all. The second best thing to do is as little packaging as possible. So this is an excellent example of using a box that's not too big, that has to be stuffed for our block. So if somebody ordered this, it would be tucked into the box and there wouldn't be a lot of wiggle room. So again, we go back to Apple. Apple CEO Tim Cook, I don't know if anybody's familiar with Apple, I'm assuming everybody is. He's reiterated the company's goal to remove all plastics in its packaging by 2025 and to go completely carbon neutral by 2030. One thing I'd like to point out here is the side effect of doing that is the iPhone 13, they've actually redesigned the packaging so that when you get the phone and you pull it out, there's no longer plastic. And that has saved 600 metric tons of plastic. And I'm assuming 600 metric tons is not something that we want floating in our ocean, but think of the cost savings. That's a lot of plastic you have to purchase. So you're saving money by not using, you're saving money by not using packaging. So another way to grow your business is to retain and attract eco-conscious employees. And I pulled a quote from Patagonia's website. I'm a big Patagonia fan. This is kind of like a granola eating fun job description. So we also seek, as I mentioned above, core Patagonia product users, people who love to spend as much time as possible in the mountains or in the wild. We are, after all, an outdoor company. We would not staff a trade show booth with a bunch of, sorry if I offend anybody, out of shape guys wearing white shirts and ties and suspenders any more than a doctor would let his receptionist smoke in the office. We can hardly continue to make the best outdoor clothing if we become primarily an indoor culture. So we seek out the dirt bags who feel more at home in a base camp or in a river than they do in an office. So that description to me tells me they're seeking people who want to be sustainable by nature and therefore want to see the company grow and will probably stay with the company for a long time. Are we losing?
No, we're good.
We're good.
So most millennials, and that's 26 to 41, based on my research, would actually take a pay cut at work to work for an environmentally responsible company. Less than a quarter of Gen Xers, that's 42 to 57, said the same, and baby boomers are lower. So you see the next generations coming up are really excited about taking care of the planet. Well, something I also found in my research that I thought was really interesting is a list of sustainability careers that a company can offer, and I'll offer this PDF to anybody who wants it. There are new careers coming out yearly for companies who want to differentiate themselves from the competition. So we have sustainability officers who might know something about this since you're studying it. So let's talk about the icky part. So when you look at these pictures, we've all seen these pictures daily and you kind of glance a little bit. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming, and that's It's pretty much the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, because I want to make a difference. So when you think about recyclable packaging material, that's packaging that can be recycled when you no longer have a use for it, right? So we think about compostable packaging and that box that we just made here. So
This one right here?
actually, this box right here is printed with algae from Living Ink Technology, and it's actually compostable. So you could throw that in your backyard, and the ink has no carbon in it whatsoever. So materials that can be placed in a home compost bin and decomposed and make the soil more nutrient rich. That's what we talked about on compostable packaging. Yes. So by innovating, using new materials like algae ink, and I have designed packaging also that's made from sugarcane and various other things, but I don't have it here. By innovating, you're actually creating opportunities for your company to set itself apart from people who are your competitors, and they're also protecting the environment. So when you're looking at this picture here, this is actually wool. And wool is a very strong material, it's very light. So when we think about shipping things using wool, if you were to put wool into, let's say, a poly bag, it would be really light and it would cost you a lot less packaging, but it's also very strong, so it would keep something like this deodorant very safe. So sustainable packaging shows corporate social responsibility. And there are websites you might be aware of that if you want to make a purchase from a company, you want to make sure that they're saying what they're saying on their website is true, that they're actually sustainable and socially responsible. There are websites that you can go to that you can actually see their grade, what they get, like a report card. I think it is called ethicalconsumer.org. And when you guys, if you guys want this PDF, you can.
You said that,
look at.
is it okay if I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You said that in that previous slide that it was wool, like sheep's wool that's lined inside of that.
Yeah. There's also mushroom as well. It kind of looks like this a little bit. So mushroom, I believe, is called mycelium. And mycelium is very important to the Earth's ecosystem. And so when you think about, let's say this was made out of mushroom, and you were going to throw it in the garbage, it would do much better than, say, something like plastic water bottle, right? Because even if you can recycle something, not everybody has the time to recycle or is thinking about it. It is so very overwhelming. So did that answer your question?
Yes, yeah, I just want to see like wool,
Yeah,
sheep's
yeah,
wool,
there's
like
a
it's
lot of
really
really
wool.
cool things happening. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very unusual, unexpected.
So a few of the topics we'll go over, it's for case studies, are food and beverage, fashion, health and beauty, and healthcare. So I wanted to give you a few industry specific tips if there's anybody online watching and it's something that you provide that might be helpful. So number one, make sustainability part of your marketing plan, let people know what you're doing and be very transparent about it. So in food and beverage, in that sense, sustainability should be a component of your marketing strategy, like we talked about it. Kit Kat, a Nestle chocolate bar, is massively popular in Japan. But in Japan, they wanted to highlight the brand's commitment to sustainability, so they switched out their, and I don't think I have a sample, but I'll make a noise. The plastic or cellophane lined chocolate bar with paper, and then they have instructions on how to do an origami crane with that packaging. So see how that delights the customer.
Yeah.
Versus, oh, I feel ashamed that I'm going to throw this in the garbage, right? When we think about fashion, this is our poly bag for Wildrouted, and this is made by a company called Eco Clothes. They're one of my favorite go-tos. They printed this box for Beard Brothers, and they provide the stuffing inside. And then they provided this as a gift to everybody. If you want to take a box with you tonight, it has samples in it. So did you guys know that it costs more to ship a box than a poly bag? So if I took this box and put it inside this poly bag, it would be cheaper to ship it.
What?
Okay, so
Mhm.
that's the savings. So we're using less packaging. Now, in this instance, we can't really ship a glass bottle in a poly bag unless there's some box in there and we don't want to over package. But it's just a little trick that you might want to think about to save money. Health and beauty, use cutting edge materials like we were talking about, the mushroom and the algae ink. And then when you are designing your packaging, you can't see it, but on the bottom, I've educated the customer on what they're actually getting in the box and how to dispose of it. In healthcare, you could consider switching non-recyclables to recyclable options and share that with the customer. Like on the vessel, you could actually, let's say this is something in healthcare, you could give them a healthy tip on how to take care of themselves. A really cool thing that's come out recently are paper box pill bottles.
Paper box.
So I'll show you a picture later in the slides. But
Could
it's-
you,
Yeah.
sorry, can you hold up the campfire canister there? So this is sustainable, recyclable,
Because it's metal.
because it's metal.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the only thing you have to do to recycle that is probably see if the label is recyclable as well, and if it's not, you peel it off and throw it in the trash bin. Whereas on Beard Brothers, we have labels that are made out of recycled paper and it's printed with algae ink, so if you were to, peel the label off, you could recycle it. Unfortunately, we're not recycling glass in this area.
Right.
But you could recycle the label as well.
Mhm.
So what we're looking at here is a screenshot from the Peoria area, the city of Peoria, on what accepted materials and what you can't recycle in the area. So if you think about it, you're going to design a product, like Beard Brothers is a local company. They would look at the website and they would, okay, here's what we can do and here's what we can't do. So we would design it based on what the area would accept. But if you think about it, if they grow nationwide, it's going to be a little bit tricky because every municipality has their own idea of what you can recycle. So it gets a little bit challenging. Can go to the next slide. So when we think about professionals that can help us, I've designed a product or I have a product in mind that I want to have designed. There's three professionals that come to mind that I just wanted to share with you. Service designers or human-centered designers, that is the activity of planning and arranging people, infrastructure, communication, and material components of service and of a service in order to improve its quality and the interaction between the service provider and its users. Everybody might know what an industrial designer is. They're also called product designers. Not only are they designing the product, so for instance, this camera would have been designed by a product designer, but they sometimes also can design the product logo and the product packaging. More specifically, if you're looking for somebody who's just as packaging design, they guide the design process. They will ask you what you're trying to relate to the customer, and they will conceptualize, design, and execute the packaging based on your specifications and what you can use it. So the cost outside your bottom line. This is the new food chain. You've probably all seen this. And this is why we want to recycle. So this is a little bit shocking, but I just wanted to share it. This is an example of the plastic can topper that I was talking about. I know that for myself, I'll cut it before I put it in the trash if I do buy a product, but not everybody does. And this is an example of one that actually becomes food for fish. So we go back to every city has its own recycling rules. And if we can design something that doesn't have to really worry about recycling rules and can actually become part of the environment, we're kind of ahead. And we should tell people about it. So let's go through a few case studies. So you want to go ahead and jump to the next slide. This is a cardboard can holder that would replace that plastic topper that we were just talking about. if you were to get fruits and vegetables from, let's say, the grocery store, how cool would it be to have a little box for you to carry it as opposed to like putting in the plastic bag and the plastic bag dripping and getting home and seeing if the plastic bag is recyclable. Oh my gosh, it's not, and I feel guilty. You go through that whole mental, I don't even know what to say. So then this is a lid by World Centric. Notice there's a lid, a hole big enough for you to drink out of. You don't have to have a straw. We all know straws that aren't great for some turtles, right? And this is a compostable lid. This is more specific to what John and I are doing with Wildrouted. This is an example of our bag, which I've held up already by Eco and Clothes. We use this to ship our t-shirts. This is our kids' hoodie. Notice we use eco-friendly recycled hangers instead of regular hangers. And then our hang tags are made out of sustainably forested paper. So if you want to pass one of those around, notice I tell people on the back that I've done that. Something we're really excited about, we're working with natural fiber welding, and this is a test sample. We do currently have caps that we have embroidered, but we are working with natural fibers to use their Mirum product. And this is actually made out of coconut husk. Okay, this is the coconut husk. And then we print it. We do print it with a plastisol. We did try water-based inks, and we're not having excellent success on it. So we will be doing this type of mock-up.
You said you're printing it with what's this all?
Plastisol,
Plastisol.
which is the same thing our shirts are printed with.
Okay.
And one other thing, we do one pass of ink on our shirts so that we're using the least amount of plastisol as possible. So plastisol is an ink that's flexible. They do tout it as eco-friendly, but it does have plastic in it. So there you go.
Baby steps.
Baby
Baby
steps.
steps.
You can't
Baby
save
steps.
the woman, right?
That's right.
Oh, and one other thing. Econ Post has invented this and they're testing it right now. So instead of us using a recycled poly bag, which yay is really good because it's pulling recycled materials out of the stream, and then we can also recycle it. But if you don't want to do that, they're now making a paper one that you can put your clothes in and have the faceted side on a tab. And they're also making a, have you guys seen wax paper? It's called glassine, where you might get stamps, and so you can see your stamps in the bag, but the bag is kind of cloudy looking. They're also making a bag like that, and you might have a sample in your box. So you can take a look at that.
Should we do an unboxing? We're gonna do an unboxing later.
Not yet, you're getting ahead of yourself.
Another thing I'm really excited about is we do a lot of stickers, and our stickers are not eco-friendly. We would like for them to be someday, but right now they don't really stand up on the card. They're made out of paper. But let's say you're doing some kind of sticker that doesn't have to be outside or isn't really going to get beat up a lot. This is actually a sticker that has the paper when you're done with it to peel off. You just put it in your recycling bin. Okay. And then if this is on a package and you're going to recycle it, you can just recycle the whole thing. You're not like, oh, is that a plastic sticker? No, it's not. So a lot of cool things happening. And then this would be our sticker roll, and unfortunately this backing isn't recyclable, but the stickers themselves, which are our labels that we put on envelopes. Show that one. So you can go ahead and switch. So we talked about this a lot. We talked about this a lot, and if you want to pass this around, this is hot off the press. So this is an excellent example of what is happening currently in the Peoria area, and I believe we're the only people in Central Illinois that are using algae ink. And then this is a cone that they ordered to go into the beard cone. That goes with this up. Looking fine over there.
This is really nice.
So
For beard.
yeah. So fun fact about this, Algae Ink is relatively new, and we designed the brand to have black as its color because Algae Ink only comes in black. Lo and behold, we had our printer in Chicago print the labels, and they came in and I said, "Oh, it's funny, they're brown. They're not black, and the brand is black. So what are we gonna do?" So I called the owner of Living Ink Technology in Colorado, and he said, "Whoops, it looks like we got a batch of the brown ink that we're testing." And I'm like, "Well, I would like another batch of that because the brand is now brown." So he's like, "Well, unfortunately, you can't get that right now because it hasn't been versioned and tested." So they're very kind. You have to be patient when people are innovating and trying new things, and these things are gonna happen. So if Living Ink Technology is watching, no harm, no foul, but that's how we're pivoting on something that has.
Looks awesome.
Let's do with the brown, right?
Color looks actually really good.
It was a happy accident.
Yeah. That's so great. I like it.
So when you think about the box that you're looking at with the tissue in it is passing around, notice you'll see a lot of metal, you'll see paper, and you'll see glass. The POP, which is the point of purchase, that will also stay true to the brand, in which it will be made of only paper and wood and possibly metal. I wanted to show you, if you want to go to the next slide, I wanted to show you how I actually lay out the design. There are some requirements. We do just do some research, basically. You Google what they need to have on the packaging, and the FDA comes up and lets you know what you have to have. In this country, we only need to have the address, the logo, the full business name, and the directions and description. But when we do packaging outside of the country, countries like Denmark require you to have the shelf life on the packaging, and they require you to have the country's language as well as any other languages that are spoken in that country. So it's a little bit more intensive if you're designing for other countries. You'll notice that on these labels here of the tins that we're going around, we have some brand differentiators. We're very proud that it's made in USA, and we're very proud that it's 99% plastic free. It's the brand overall. However, the packaging is plastic free. And so we've made little graphics that let people know that when they're picking it up in the store, they know that it's their people and they want to support that brand. So this is the pill bottle I was telling you about. It's very new. It was on the die line, I think, seems like a year ago, but it might be two. The pandemic's really got me.
What's Dialine?
Dialine is a resource for packaging designers to go and research award-winning packaging and innovation. So this will come to a pharmacy in a flat, and I don't know if you can get that.
DYE line? The IE line.
Like die cut.
Okay, gotcha.
So this arrives flat, and then you fold it. So the pharmacy would receive the paper box, and then it would fold it. It's an excellent opportunity. Notice how much more real estate the box offers than a little pill bottle. For instead of you getting those tons and tons of pharmacy notes that you get, you know, there might be a way to use like brand differentiators or special symbols, especially for people who have poor eyesight, or possibly you could even consider, I don't know, bread. There's a lot of opportunities to make your product vessel different and really help people. So by having more real estate and it being sustainable packaging, it's a win-win all the way around. This is, you know, like when you go to a hotel, like you go to Marriott, you might see shampoo, conditioner, body wash. Sometimes they're even putting it in the shower in refillable bottles. This particular brand is kind of like the K-cups, except they're not recyclable. So they're made of paper, and you can recycle them once you're finished. This is our buddy Joe Spanier. He's going to be laser cutting our mirror patches.
Go Joe.
And he also loves packaging design. So we wanted to feature a product that he designed. It's a little multi-use tool that helps him do some daily chores. And he laid out an example of how he's packaging it. Every packaging has its own flair, its own design, its own way it attracts people. And I love that he used the hand stamped look. Makes me feel really connected to him as a craftsman. This is a bottle we saw at Benny's last weekend, because we're drinkers.
Occasionally.
It's just social, just social.
And I thought this was really cool. This brand created a line of Crocs. And I don't know if you know what Crocs are. It's like a very utilitarian cast iron type of pottery. And each of their different alcohols come in a different color of pottery. Just think what you could do with that. You could put flowers in it. You could maybe put some type of liquid gift, like some oil or something, or cooking oil that had hot peppers in it, and re-gift it to somebody for the holidays. The Olivia box that you see here, is this guy here. So the Olivia box was the very first item since with algae technology. I'm super proud of that.
And they were here.
Yeah, it started in Ingles. Yeah, he pitched right there in that corner.
You can't spot where he pitched.
He got done and he goes, I don't like that. Did I say anything back? Okay, this is also very inspirational. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but the water bottles that come in just the little pods that you can just drink the whole thing. This, of course, since we're drinkers, is very interesting. These are actually cocktails that come in little pods.
Oh, wow.
So you eat the whole pod,
Oh, like a side packet.
But they won't kill you.
but we'll kill you. They'll just make you happy. So we think about all the salad dressings, like we'll get a salad in a little container and then we'll have a little dressing pouch. And I'll go, oh, I can recycle this, but then I pull out the salad dressing thing and I'm like, but I can't recycle that because it's not recyclable. So here I am again. So, but these are the same technology from the same company where they're putting salad dressings in these little pods. Just think how pretty that would be laying on the salad and how marketable that would be for somebody, especially if they're sustainable. And this is the same concept with ketchup packs.
Nice.
And then this is the non-plastic coating. So when you get these ugly things from Ingles,
Nice.
Gotta stop.
I especially don't like it when I get something hot and it's melted to the plastic.
Yeah.
And then I have to have that guilt of not being able to recycle it and hoping that somebody's inventing a worm that will eat it someday. So when you get paper boxes for your meals, there are some that have a plastic coating on the inside that make them slippery
Mhm.
and water resistant. You can't recycle those. So that's why you have to do your research. You know, one more thing to do, you have to do your research. This was just sent to me by our cousin who is in charge of innovation at Polaris, and he's a huge biker. He's like, I know you're giving this presentation. I thought this was really cool. I just came across this and I thought you should share. So it's a bike in completely recyclable packaging.
That's awesome.
So if you're gonna go buy a bike for your young adult and you're looking at the store and you're going, oh, that's recyclable, and oh, that is like a lot of that plastic tabbing on it and things I have to cut. Which one are you gonna buy if they're very similar? I feel like even if you're not a sustainable consumer, you may lean more towards that because it's different, it's novel.
Brown is beautiful too.
Yeah. It really connects the bike with kind of like that earthy type of feel. Yeah. So these are some companies, these are some companies that I work with quite a bit. The top three are my favorite and I've used them for years. So Living Ink is the algae ink company that I was telling you about, Scott Fulbright. He's working really hard to make that available to everybody, and you now can get it in silkscreen for your shirts. And we plan on the next shirt we do, we think we're going to do it now. Plant Green Printing is my buddy Rob Tosberg. He's from California. I call him a hippie. He's recently exported himself to Montana, but is still running Planet Green Printing. He started his company to have sustainable packaging, especially food packaging. This is one of his samples. In California, they're very particular about what goes on their food packaging. So if you have a food vessel with a salad on it, it better have an eco-friendly, recyclable tag to go with it. So Rob and I have been on a food podcast together several times, and I remember him saying why he started his company was he has 2 daughters and he wanted to leave the world better than he's found it. So he's really working hard to make that happen. He also printed our tag. And I even put his name on there because I want other people to know about him so they can have resources. Eco Enclosed was the one that printed the box we talked about. Their specialty is basically shipping, not packaging the product, but shipping the product. So when you look at that sample box that they've given you, pretty much everything they offer is in that box we look at. Next Level Apparel and Bella Canvas Apparel treat their employees, what do we call that? It's not fair trade, but ethically, is ethically. So we work with those
Fair
2
wage.
brands specifically. Bella Canvas also has a full USA line that's made in LA, and I believe, hope I don't get this wrong, when they do the sewing, don't they work with a sewing shop and
There's a couple, yeah.
so there's a lot of really good things these companies are doing, and we're trying to support companies that are doing good. Diamond Tag and Label, and this is a good learning opportunity for us here. Diamond Label is not marketed as a sustainable printer, but when I started designing for the Beard Brothers, they're like, you got to use our printer. We get really good prices, and I'm like, but do they do sustainable printing? I don't know. Why don't you talk to them? And I'm like, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get recycled paper and we're gonna print with algae ink. Are you up for that? And he said, absolutely. So now he's starting to print sustainably. So us starting this and asking questions made a ripple. The Good Start Packaging, they do a lot of the food type vessels that take the work out of, let's say you're running a restaurant and margins are really thin. They have options for you to choose that make it a little bit easier for you to make your customers happy when they go to get your food home. Okay. So next one. So these are some tips. There's a lot of copy, but I wanted to be sure and share. When you think about your vehicles are like drivable billboards. So think about the mammography machines. And I bring this up because I did a little bit of work for Union Point Health. The mammography machine, they would put on the side what they were doing, what they were supporting, why they were doing it, who they were helping. So if you think about it, if you already have a fleet, use those fleets as driving billboards to make people understand what you're trying to do. Use your packaging as a way to drive your users to your website. So if you look at Beard Brothers, we have a QR code, and each QR code is specific to the landing page of that product on the website. So you're not capturing data on social media that you can keep. If your social media channel goes away, you don't get to keep all of that. But if you're driving people to your website and capturing emails, you're able to let them know what new and innovative things that you're doing on your site. Let trusted eco-friendly companies help you find the right fit. So we go back to Planet Green Printing, Rob Tosper, we've become really not great friends, but we've become packaging friends. And so whenever I have a bottle where, let's say, maybe I want cork for my bottles, or I want something that's made out of a certain kind of paper, I need only tap into him. He's a huge resource. So he's like an encyclopedia for materials and methods. And this is just a repeat of that Kit Kat. I thought that was really interesting. So when you think about things that you produce, or even if you send an invitation to a party, and then we're very digital, but sometimes people do like to do invitations. What can you do with that invitation to make it an experience for somebody as opposed to just a piece of paper with information on it? And then these are those resources again. I put also TerraCycle. If you haven't heard of TerraCycle, please look him up. He is an amazing person. He recycles everything from cigarette butts to baby diapers, and almost everything at TerraCycle site is, they'll send you a big box and you'll put everything in it. They'll recycle toothpaste, bottles, or tubes, just about anything. Just check out their site. I think his name is Tom Zaki. He's kind of a guru of recycling, and he's really making a difference. And also look up his office space, because all the rim dividers are made out of plastic bottles. So instead of using building materials, he's using recycling to build the space. It's actually,
I think he was a student when he started this project.
really,
He was a student when he started TerraCycle.
Wow.
yeah, and his family home is really cool. He raises his kids from the earth. He has hammocks in the backyard, and they don't really play with screens. They're playing outdoors. I've also put the recyclingpartnership.org, Save on Energy, Elevate Packaging. There's so many cool people doing cool things that I didn't even know until I did research for this presentation. And evocative.com packaging was a really cool site too. I believe they were doing the mycelium, the mushroom fiber. It's really cool. So it's really easy. Like, I remember watching a TV show, and it was a bunch of people living on like a homestead, and they're trying to live off the earth and not use plastics and grow their own fruits and vegetables. And somebody came walking in, and I felt like this person, you know, like, oh, I just don't think I want to keep going. And I'm like, we have a code recycle. We have somebody who's overwhelmed with recycling. So when you think about your packaging, try to make it really easy and fun for people to be a part of this. Hopefully someday it's just commonplace that just like you brush your teeth, you recycle everything. So don't feel like you have to do everything at once. We interviewed a gentleman from, is it Switzerland or?
Might have been
someplace?
Norway.
Norway, and he is a person who takes people out on adventures just to like see if they can survive nature. So he'll take you out in the snow and try to kill you.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I feel really guilty. And I know other clients that I've worked with who create products, and I feel really guilty. I'm adding to the pile of recycling. He said, don't feel like that. Every time you have an opportunity to make a change, make that change. Because if you get overwhelmed and you stop, then you're not doing what you want to do, right?
Okay.
So don't get overwhelmed. And if you need a lifeline, I'm always available. So special thanks to Anne, Andrew,
Nate.
buddy Nate, and my husband. Yep, that's me, like 2 years ago before the pandemic. So you're welcome to touch anything, ask questions. I think I put everything out, and then you're all welcome to take the box.
Any questions from the group? I would imagine our sustainability leader, Minor, has some questions or
She probably knows more than me.
color commentary.
I don't really have a questions, but I just want to share. There is an entrepreneur from Ukraine, and he's like in his early 20s, and he makes paper out of the fallen leaves. So he takes fallen leaves and he recycles them and he makes paper. But for now, he sells it to Europe because our people don't want to buy it because it's too expensive for them. But he sells it to Europe. I got it actually to know today. So he was really famous in 2018. He was a high school student, and everyone in the whole Ukraine was talking about him. But now he actually he wanted to find investors, but they didn't want to invest in the idea. So he actually started doing it, and then people started. So I was reading about him today.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for permission anymore. Do you?
Yeah.
You can just do.
And it is good to know international crowds that have, or international countries that have more of an interest in renewable, recyclable, or green products. And I love the stats that you provided at the beginning where it talked about generationally, it's becoming more and more not only appealing, but even expected. So for people that are starting their companies now and designing the products now, is especially depending on your strategic focus and your customer focus, really designing that into the beginning around brand, around marketing, everything, as well as product design.
I definitely agree that our generation like really cares about it. And like we even have to educate our parents and like grandparents because like for example in Ukraine, I go to open market to buy like fruits and vegetables. So I come there and I say, I have my bags. But they'll like older women that work there, they're like, no, take this plastic bag. It's a service for them, like because they grew up in a different time when the plastic was actually invented and it was actually cool. So they don't understand. So we have to like insist and be like, no, this is better. Like, like so.
The plastic grocery bags are the bane of my existence. They blow everywhere. They're ugly. They're terrible. They never degrade. So seeing products out there that are biodegradable and can replace that. It's a breath of fresh air.
So what is it, considering, outside of the US that there's much more of an embrace, what takes the US so long, in your opinion? What's taken us so long to embrace this? We've been talking about going green for decades now. But, I always just kind of wonder what the resistance is outside of generational.
You can even see it in the United States regionally. California is always leading the way. Colorado is always leading the way. Bigger cities tend to lead the way because they have more people in one area. Like I know California just passed, I believe, legislation that everybody has to compost. So when you have food scraps or you have, like the box we talked about that's compostable in your garden, you have to legally put it in a compost bin. So my daughter lives in Milwaukee, and outside of her building, there is a green bin that they are to put all of their scraps in. So I feel like, actually, I saw this heat map while I was doing research, and it showed before the invention of plastic how many landfills that we have. And then it showed during the evolution of plastic coming of age, and especially single-use plastic, and modern consumerism growing with the dot-com generation. It was almost like the United States had a chicken pox, and like really bad chicken pox, not like just one. And I was like, wow. So the landfills weren't here until all the products were here. And if we can find some way to capture all this packaging, I figure that company is pretty smart because they have a renewable resource that they need to only go to a landfill and harvest. I don't know that answer. You might know because you're outside of the country. Why is the United States so behind?
Can I say, like, I just have some idea, just my observations.
Yeah.
So I feel like comparing to the countries like, I don't know, Sweden or Norway, because they're like the best in sustainability as far as I know. But I feel like United States have a lot of problems with like social issues. So for example, like racial justice or like, I don't know, people caring about like the food and homelessness. So in the United States, they have a lot of different problems. So people are like, oh, like why would I care about sustainability when there's other problems that are more important, basically. That's my observations because I'm in a social entrepreneurship class right now. And when we had to like vote, what are the most like important issues to us? We had like, I don't know, 20% of class saying this is sustainability is more important than anything else. And we had like at least about it. That's my observation, but I'm not sure. It's just
That's a very true perspective of we pick and choose our battles in terms of what we want to embrace as our cause. So that's true. It's like we focus on one thing over the next, or say consider ourselves we're doing good because I do this, but why not do it across the board? That's an interesting perspective.
I feel like we need to bring more awareness that you can do a couple of things at the same time. You don't have to do just like one.
I wonder if it has to do with partly that some of the countries that are really advanced in taking care of the environment have less square mileage, smaller countries. Because in the United States, it feels like we've got this huge country and endless resources and all this stuff.
Have you ever seen a garbage dump?
We drive by landfills.
I was going to say, have you ever seen a landfill? So
Yeah.
it's like there's so much space here.
Yeah.
It's easy to shove it under the rug.
Yeah.
And so you just don't see it, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it.
And also the almighty dollar, typically, until you can convince consumers that it is for the same money, you can make a smarter, more sustainable choice in what you're purchasing. then you can start to appeal to kind of what makes Americans tick. It's a very consumer-driven society and consumer on that dollar. Fortunately, for the sustainable folks, as petroleum products around the world and the prices continue to increase, that makes sustainable packaging, sustainable products all the more attractive because it's going to start to balance out and neutralize.
I have a follow-up question to that. So coronavirus, yes, really, at least in my observation, 2020, everybody went back to plastic bags, like literally single-use everything. Curious to hear your thoughts.
I think the pandemic has been not so great as far as sustainability because what she was talking about with other fish to fry that are like really scary things. The research I've done has shown that we've had a lot of one-use plastics because people are afraid, especially rubber gloves and finding in the shopping parking lot or masks that somebody drops and they don't want to pick up. So I wonder if we don't take something really bad and we turn it into something really good. So maybe all of our attention is being brought to this and we can actually do something about it. I don't know what that is, but I say we always take something bad and turn it into something good. And some bags are recyclable, like if you go to certain stores, some of them are made out of corn.
Yeah.
We have a lot of corn here in the This bag is made from 40% recycled product. And once a month I trek to Target and I stuff all my bags in that hole. That hole that they have for recycled bags. And I know they use them because I buy their bags that are made out of smashed recycled bags. So Target, I mean, I don't know if they're a perfect company. I haven't investigated them, but at the surface for somebody who's really busy, they do make a lot of things easier, which in turn is really smart for them because when I'm returning my bags, when am I going to return my bags?
Yeah.
Probably the Target. You can't be Target without these things. I know they did that on purpose. And now they want your Wi-Fi password, so I know that they do, or not their Wi-Fi password, but now they want you on their Wi-Fi, so that when you're walking down the aisles, they can go, hey, this is on sale, this is on sale. That's very smart.
Yeah.
And that's how we take sustainability, just like in the bag, and we add it to our profit margin.
I mean, in terms of the cost of the actual packaging for sustainable packaging, is that higher of a cost?
That is a really hard question because let's say like we're going to be working with a honey farmer and redesigning his packaging. I would like to talk to Emily next week about the difference between sustainable packaging versus not sustainable packaging. So until you actually start a project and know what the client wants and what they want to spend and do your research to see what's available. Like for instance, this is toothpaste. Oh, and it comes in a subscription and you can control when the subscription comes. So the little toothpaste tablets, my son brushes his teeth better when he has something fun, brush his teeth. So this was his toothpaste and he watches for this to come in the mail and he has this sustainable toothbrush that's made out of, like you can pull the fibers out of the brush and recycle the brush itself. But it's a really hard question to answer because every single packaging project is unique to that particular product. So that's why I say you have to educate the customer to find, show them examples. Like when I have tangible examples to show them, they can see it instead of imagining it and being scared by it. And then show them what we can do to take that sustainable packaging and turn it into something that's different than what anybody else is doing. So even this tag here is sustainable paper. I mean, how fun is that? It's like deodorant.
You can answer that.
It was.
Yeah, this is your thing, so that's fine.
That was your time.
But think how cool this is, sitting next to a plastic tube and deodorant on the shelf, right?
Yeah.
It feels good in your hands. You don't feel guilty about when you're done with it. This normally has a little thing that says pushing right here, but this one does not for some reason. I mean, there's all different, you could do chapstick. You could do deodorant that goes on your wrist and paper tubes. You can put like a tea selection
Oh, wow.
in there, and how cool would that be to save like your knitting needles or your crochet hooks?
Yeah.
I mean, it's very tangible. I remember growing up next to my grandfather. Now you go to Lowe's and you design your garage, and you have all these components, these plastic things. Not in his garage. Everything is a baby food jar or a compost stand or something. And there's all nailed with the little lids that went on it, so you could write on it. And how cool is that?
So Depression era, silent
Yeah.
generation, man, they
Recycle
saved
everything.
everything, reused everything, or they did without.
That's why actually the generation after them, we're like, no, we want everything good, despite like plastics and so much. In use, because people like, no, like it's new, I want to use it, you know, so they don't want to reuse it because like the previous generation was like, oh, we're saving everything, they just didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
So this one-
pendulum swung the other way.
It's actually a lot of about psychology. Like I was also like noticing that a lot of people like the countries they're not that sustainable. People, not everyone, but a lot of people are cheap. They don't want to like spend into something more like.
We call it selfish.
It's not even selfish. A lot of people understand the problem, but they don't care that much. And because there's not a lot of awareness, you know, that's what I feel like there are a lot of causes, so it's hard. There's psychology, everything's happening around us, so. Glad you're gonna fix all that.
Single handed, no pressure.
I'm getting tired.
Does anybody have questions online?
It's great to know Joe's a customer of yours, client of yours. It's exciting to see the collaboration you guys are doing. Put into the chat, how do we get more, how do we get one of those cool tools that he designed? And he said, basically it sounds like we just need to generate enough demand for him to get another
We don't even know what
production.
it is.
What's that?
Do you even know what it is?
The tool?
Yeah.
His multi-tool?
It's for opening beer. Remember we're drinking. Among other things, it's a multi.
It's a multi-use tool.
It's just a little keychain tool with a bunch of metric wrenches and a ruler and a screwdriver and a pry bar and a bottle opener. All the things you need.
All the things you need. That's for sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dee, for your time. And it was super informative.
The world is sustainable, the future is sustainable,
Yeah.
all things, not just product and packaging.
Aaron, you want to talk about Thursday?
Sure. So Thursday night, this Thursday at the Broadway Lounge in Delhi, next door to CSC, we're doing a collaboration with CSC, Bradley, and Ice Steam Studios, focusing specifically on coding and technology within STEAM, but also with DE&I. So trying to bring those worlds together of STEAM and DEI to see what innovation and entrepreneurship can be spawned out of that. So there's it's going to be a great time as well as a great connection event, collision event for people, focusing on the youth and kind of future generations of coding and tech people to create this new future. Doors open at 5. The event starts at 5:30. Appetizers and cash bar.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.